Welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Arsenal Kids Podcast. My name is Madi and I'm joined by my co-host Ben. And it is grateful to have you join us for this episode.
Yes, hello listeners, hello Maddie, and welcome to episode number
150!
Thanks, Maddie. And what are we talking about on Arsenal Kids Podcast this time?
Well, Ben, in part one, let's look at the men's team who won their Champions League game midweek.
Defeating Shaktar Donetsk by 1-0.
And then in part two,
we are going to do a player profile on Arsenal legend and current pundit and fellow podcaster and continuing Arsenal supporter,
Ian Wright Wright Wright!
What a great way to celebrate 150 episodes. And just a quick reminder, we would love for you to join us for the next 150 and help us to grow our Arsenal Kids community, so please share our podcast with others.
We would love for you to join us on this adventure together.
We would indeed. And Maddie, the men's team, they had just two changes to the team from their most recent game, with Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel Martinelli back into the side, and our captain for the night, Jesus, carved out our first chance. After getting past the defender on the right wing, he sent a dangerous low cross into the box, but it was intercepted just ahead of Kai Havertz.
We started the game very brightly.
We did. I think we had over 80% of the possession in the opening 10 minutes or so, where we completely dominated and had Shaktar on the back foot. We also won 3 corners in the opening 5 minutes, and the third of them really. It should have been a goal as it fell to Calafiore, who spooned his left-footed shot over the bar. But after that bright start, the game, it fell a bit flat, and Trossard was unable to capitalise on 2 half chances created by his teammates.
But then in half-hour mark, we took the lead.
And although it might go down as an own goal, it was really down to the work of Gabriel Martinelli, who was Arsenal's best player on the night. He was given the ball by Declan Rice in the box, and when the 2 defenders in front of him, he moved, he shifted the ball onto his right foot and got his shot away. It hit the base of the post, rebounded off the goalkeeper's bottom, and ended up in the back of the net.
1-0 Arsenal!
And you could hear that chant go up and around the ground as we came close to adding more before the break, with Havertz being denied by a pinpoint clearance from the defender that could have ended up in either a goal or a penalty if it went wrong. And then Jesus had a chance which was on target, but it was saved by the outstretched leg of the keeper.
We started the second half with a change.
Yeah, Ben White, he was on a yellow card and so was withdrawn for Mikel Merino. And I'll be honest, Maddie, the second half was not the most exciting football I've ever watched, but I was worried when Calafiore went off holding his knee after slipping on the ground. I know that he's had knee issues before, and we also have so many injuries already, so let's hope it's not too serious and just precautionary.
But Ben, we then got a penalty?
We did, and this was a little bit bizarre, as I don't think any of the players appealed for it to be given. But after a Merino cross into the box hit the arm of the defender, a VAR check suggested that a penalty be given, and the referee obliged. Leandro Trossard stepped up to the spot only to completely bottle it and give one of the poorest penalties I've seen for a while. It was straight, it was too low, and the keeper didn't have too much to do to save the ball, and it was the first penalty we've missed at home since December of 2021.
And it could have been quite costly for us.
Yes, we were lucky that David Raya, who had pretty much nothing to do all game, made an absolutely amazing flying save to deny the visitors in injury time, meaning we did enough to win the game, giving us a total of 7 points now in the Champions League table. And after all the games for this match day have been played, we sit in 9th place, and there's still 5 games to go.
And that was stuff for the team, Ben?
Next up, Maddie, it's a big home game in the Premier League, as the men's team are going to be facing Liverpool this weekend. Let's hope a few of our players return from injury before then.
Okay, well, let's leave it there for part 1. We'll be right back after this, part number 2. Welcome back, and Ben, let's take a look at Ian Wright Wright.
Sure thing, Maddie. Ian Edward Wright, OBE, was born on the 3rd of November 1963 in Woolwich, England.
Isn't that where Arsenal started?
Good memory, Maddie. Yes, Arsenal did start in Woolwich before they moved to North London, and Ian, the third son of Jamaican parents, was brought up predominantly by his mum. And did you know that despite having trials to play football at both Southend United and Brighton and Hove Albion, he wasn't able to get enough interest for a professional contract, which left him to play for simple amateur teams instead.
And then he spent some of his time in prison.
Yes, after he had a spell of poverty during which his wife was expecting their first child, Wright spent 32 days in Chelmsford prison for failing to pay fines for driving without tax or insurance. It led him to burst into tears, and he vowed to God to do everything in his power to make it as a footballer.
And so what did he do next?
Well, I'm going to assume he trained really, really hard and practiced his skills, as all good players do. But in 1985, he was signed by a semi-professional club called Greenwich Borough, where he got paid £30 a week. But after only 6 or 7 games there, he was finally spotted by a Crystal Palace scout after a tip-off that there was an up-and-comer at the club, and he was invited to trial at Selhurst Park, where he impressed the manager and signed a contract with Palace just before his 22nd birthday, with the agreed signing-on fee being a set of weightlifting equipment.
And he quickly made his mark at the club,
scoring 9 goals to finish as Palace's second highest scorer. The following year, he established a good partnership with Mark Bright and scored 33 goals that season as Palace were promoted to the First Division. But he then suffered a twice-cracked shin bone, only returning as a substitute in the last game of the season, an FA Cup final against Manchester United, where he scored the goal that pushed the game into extra time, but Palace went on to unfortunately lose the replay. Wright, he became known for his deadly striking ability, and over 6 seasons for the Eagles, he scored 117 goals in 253 games and was more recently named their Player of the Century. But then
Arsenal came knocking.
They did. Ian Wright signed for Arsenal in September of 1991 for £2.5 million, which at the time was a club record fee.
And he scored his first game. He scored in his first game for Gunners.
He did in the League Cup, but then in his league debut, he scored a hat-trick, with another hat-trick in the final game of the season, which made it 31 goals for him in all competitions. Wright then went on to become the club's top scorer for 6 straight seasons in a row, and played a major part in Arsenal's success during the 1990s, as they won an FA Cup and League Cup double in 93, and also won the European Cup Winners' Cup final.
But then he had a more difficult time with the new coach.
Yes, after coach George Graham left, Wright at one point handed in his transfer request, but he ended up staying at the club. And although he was getting older, he had a good striking partnership with Dennis Bergkamp. And by the time then Arsene Wenger arrived in 1996, Wright, almost 33 by then, continued to score regularly. And on the 13th of September 1997, he broke the club record to become Arsenal's then all-time top scorer with a hat-trick against Bolton, and his memorable goal celebration saw him reveal a shirt with "Just Done It" written on it. His final goal at our old ground of Highbury was on the 4th of October 97 against Barnsley, and it was also his 300th career goal in total. But then a hamstring injury ruled him out for much of the remainder of that season.
In total, Wright scored 185 goals for the Gunners for 288 games.
And he remains still Arsenal's second highest goal scorer of all time. In 1998, he moved to West Ham, and then following that, he had spells at Nottingham Forest, Celtic, and Burnley before he retired in the year 2000.
And did he ever play for England, Ben?
He did, Maddie, but not as often as I think he would have liked, or as we might have wanted, because the English managers, they opted for other options, despite Wright being probably the in-form and most prolific striker in England. And so he only appeared in 33 games for the Three Lions and scored 9 goals.
And what has he been doing since playing football?
Well, since he's not been playing, he has still remained very involved. He did some coaching at MK Dons in the 2012-2013 season. He was a TV star hosting Top of the Pops, presenting programs such as Friends Like These, and then he had a whole lot of one-off adventure shows that followed him around. He's been quite the personality and also been involved in shows like I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Mostly though, I think recently he's been known for his punditry, where he has appeared on BBC Sports Match of the Day. He's a studio analyst and has had other roles, various roles commenting on games that are being played, and he's had them since about 2002. He's also appeared in television commercials, including some for Nike, Chicken Tonight, Nescafe, Ladbrokes, Barclays, and more.
And you were telling me earlier that he was writing some books?
Yes, he's got an autobiography. Well, 2 autobiographies, actually. He's also got a novel aimed for children and young people. And he even wrote and released a song. It reached number 43 in the UK singles charts in 1993. And it's called Do the Right Thing.
And any other honours or awards for him, Ben?
On the 21st of April 2022, Ian Wright was inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame in the 2023 birthday honours. He was also appointed Officer of the Order of the British Empire. That's the OBE at the end of his name. And on the 1st of November, he was made a Freeman of the City of London, all in recognition of his sporting achievements and services to football and to charity.
Okay, well, let's wrap it up for this episode. Thanks again for joining us on Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Before we sign off from this episode 150, we want to express our gratitude for your continued support. If you haven't already, follow, like and subscribe so you don't miss us in the future. Remember, your love for the beautiful game is what fuels our passion.
And we would love for you to spread the word about Arsenal Kids Podcast.
Yes, please share our podcast with other Arsenal kids you know and help us to grow this amazing community together.
We hope to join you back on the pitch again soon.
Keep the spirit of the game alive, and until next time,
Goodbye.